So here's how we helped Blair go from a dry pipeline to being booked out in 3 months with our lead generation system, which helped him generate 84 renovation leads in 6 weeks, generate a $600,000 knockdown rebuild project within the first 3 months, and effectively fill his pipeline with the type of work that he actually wanted to be quoting on and to be winning. So who is Blair? Blair is a builder based in Melbourne. Like most tradies, went through his apprenticeship and ventured out on his own. He was 2 years into running his own company, Hudson Building Co. They specialised in knockdown rebuild projects, double-story projects, and home extensions. And Blair, like most tradies, very high skilled at what he does in terms of being on the tools and the types of projects he can deliver. But he struggled with generating new work consistently for his business. So what were some of the challenges that Blair faced when he came to Marketing Lab to help him generate new work for his business? Well, the first was he was relying on word of mouth referrals. And like most tradies, this type of lead generation is great because, once you finish a project, that person will pass your details on to a friend, a family, and vouch that you did fantastic work. But there's not enough of this coming through on a consistent basis. He then moved across after he realized that the referrals were starting to dry up. He moved across to the lead congregators like High Pages and other lead buying agents that there are for tradies and renovation experts online. And he tried that for a couple of months and he realized that the lead quality was extremely poor. He was obviously paying for this service, so paying for each lead individually. He realized that he had to be on these platforms constantly to be able to win work because of the amount of volume of other competitor builders and renovation experts bidding on the same type of lead. And all that effort wasn't really turning into great revenue for his business. The longer this went on, his pipeline continued to dry up, especially through COVID. People weren't spending as much money. They weren't very interested in doing these bigger types of renovation projects. And it started to get very concerning for Blair. He obviously had a team that he had to keep busy. He wanted to keep revenue coming through the business on a consistent basis. And he started to get to a point where he didn't know exactly where his next job would come from because he hadn't set anything up for his business in terms of lead generation outside of referrals and the High Pages of the world. And what he ended up doing, and what most tradies and renovation experts do, is they just take on any type of work just to get through. He was taking on the smaller bathroom renovation type work. He was taking on just little one-off stuff that he was doing for friends and fam, just to get some revenue stream coming through the business and just to keep his team busy. It was lowering the amount of money that he was actually taking home, and he was quite concerned at how long he could keep this up for before he could potentially have to make the decision on, closing down the business and maybe going back to working for a builder, or taking action and taking back control of the business and setting up something for his business where he could generate consistent leads and projects. So what were some of the goals that Blair had? Well, first, he wanted to fill that pipeline. That was the most urgent goal. He wanted people to be inquiring about his services. He wanted to be in conversations with people, to give him the opportunity to get in front of the right customers, to be quoting and to be engaging people that could potentially turn into large projects for his business. He obviously wanted to steer away from the bottom end type of work where, he was lowering his price just to get them through the door. He wanted to get in more knockdown rebuilds and double-story addition projects. These were bigger projects for his business, longer-term projects where he could keep his team on those projects for 3 to 6 months, and he could, effectively build out his calendar over the next 12 months with 3, 4, 5, 6 of these projects, which would effectively, secure a good revenue stream for his business over the 12 months and set him up for the next year of work so that he could scale his business even further. He wanted to fill the calendar with high-value ideal projects. So, knockdown rebuild projects that were worth in addition of $300,000 plus. Double story additions that were also, $300,000 to $600,000 plus. And then he wanted to become the go-to builder for premium renovations in his area. He wanted people to know that he was the knockdown rebuild specialist, the double story renovation specialist, the extension specialist, not just a renovation expert that dealt with, smaller bathroom work, smaller kitchens, maybe adding some cabinetry and stuff like that. He didn't want to be renowned for that. So what do we do to help Blair achieve those types of results that I shared with you in the first slide? So the first thing that we do is we helped Blair get in front of the right customers. And to do that, we needed to effectively get his business out to the market, because relying on word of mouth and relying on high pages doesn't actually get you in front of the right customers. Word of mouth is obviously based on, who's referring you. And high pages is you just bidding on types of works that they send you. It's not actually getting your business out to the market. So what we did was we created some niche focused problem solution ads for the types of projects that he wanted to win. And we got those out to high intent homeowners in specific suburbs using Facebook and Instagram, because that's where the target demographic lived online. So we utilized those two platforms to get these types of ads out and build awareness around who Blair was, who his company is, what he specialized in, and position Blair as the local expert. Now, when I say select suburbs, the reason we do this is we didn't want Blair to be targeting all of Melbourne, because as a tradie, he obviously needs to travel to consults and to projects. So Blair helped us identify which select suburbs he wanted to win more work in. Obviously, based on these types of high value projects, he wanted to go into more affluent areas, because that's where the demographic had the money to spend and were probably more motivated into wanting to do these types of extensions. So we created a little radius around his business location and selected those target suburbs and ran ads in those suburbs day and night so that people could get an understanding of who he was, to generate awareness around his company and the services that he could specialize in and help them achieve a desired result. So these are the types of ads that we ran. So as you can see, these ads position Blair as the local expert, the guy behind the brand. And as you can see with some of the ad creatives here showing some video of projects that they're working on, it just showcases the workmanship and the quality that Blair brings to the table in terms of being a renovation expert. And the results were outstanding. With a bit of good copy here, you can see the engagement rate for some of these ads were just off the charts. So 131 people liked this particular ad, 27 people commented on it, and this particular ad generated 194 leads for Blair. We also used just a general team photo of his workers standing in front of one of his trucks, and other simple ad creatives like showing an extension project happening. And what we wanted to do is position Blair as the expert, especially with second story extensions. We wanted to showcase that Blair had an understanding of the process. He was providing value upfront to the customer and what they needed to consider if they were looking to go second story, because it's not just a simple decision you can make on the fly. There's many factors that are involved in going second story. So within that, we then used a consult with Blair, the home renovation extension expert, as the lead gen for these types of advertisements. And unfortunately, my video is blocking some of the results here, but you can see 194 leads from this campaign, 13, and there's a few more leads that were generated from these other ads. So in total, there was about 300 to 400 leads generated from these types of ads. And this was going after the ideal customer, people that are wanting to get into contact with Blair about a particular project they were rendering. And Blair knew that these leads were high quality because the value of the service that he was going after. So he was happy to invest time and energy in engaging these leads, following up with them, and take him through that sales process. So the second step of our lead gen system is capture and convert leads. So apart from getting leads off platforms like Facebook and Instagram, we also then look to do it offline, where we build high converting landing pages strictly for the service that Blair is rendering. So instead of directing people to a homepage or just a general business website where you're talking about renovations as a whole, we wanted to go deep into the knockdown rebuild process. Offer value on this page, offer great content to build the value in Blair's service with clear messaging, strong visuals, social proof. So all the elements needed to motivate a potential customer to engage in a consult with Blair about a project of this size. And at the bottom of that page, we then stuck a lead form with qualifying questions to help Blair qualify the leads that were coming through, so that he could effectively prioritize which ones he wanted to go after based upon the information that he was getting back from these potential customers through that lead form. So as you can see with the page, we wanted to reflect the service that he was rendering and the high caliber workmanship that he was delivering around that service. And you can see it comes through with the page design. You can also see it comes through with the copy and how we build the value around the types of projects and renovation work that Blair can deliver. We also wanted to showcase the different projects that he had worked on, showcase before and afters. And I didn't pop a screenshot in here of the testimonials that we also showcased to help build social proof around previous clients that have gone through the experience with Blair and had a great experience with his company, just to build that social proof and continue to motivate that customer through their discovery of, do I go with Blair and Hudson Building Co. for a knockdown rebuild project, or do I consider someone else? And then, as I said, we created a lead form with a consultation around, engaging Blair as the knockdown rebuild specialist, and added some qualifying questions so that Blair could prioritize the leads that were seen as more of an opportunity for his business, opposed to those who were probably just, pecking around, wanting some more information. He wanted to engage those that actually had a need, had a want, and had a goal for getting a project like this done. And then offering some other things to note before the consult, just to provide additional information to that customer to help them make that decision to, engage Blair for an initial consult with his business. And lastly, the follow-up and closing sequence of this funnel. So obviously getting leads in is the first part, but it's how effectively can we follow up? Considering these projects are high value, it does take time for these projects to close into actual sales. So we didn't want Blair to pay for leads coming through the system on the front end, but then drop the ball on the back end with his follow-up process. And we often note that happens, especially in the tradie renovation and building game, where you get an influx of leads coming through, but you're not effectively following up with those leads day to day. So what we did was set up a CRM for Blair, which is a centralized customer relationship management system, which was completely tailored to his business. All the leads that we were generating from Facebook and Instagram would get ported into that. And what we did was set up a pipeline for Blair, and he could go into that pipeline every day and see which were the new leads that came in, which were the leads that booked in a consult with his business, which were the leads who were in the quoting process, which were the leads at different stages of the project, so that he could effectively manage that pipeline and deliver a good service to each and every one of those leads to effectively get more projects through the door. But what we did to effectively help Blair out so that he wasn't manually following up and dropping the ball on some of these leads and letting them slip through the cracks was that we created automated follow-ups via email and SMS, just to keep Blair front of mind with these prospects, so that they were constantly reminded that, hey, it's Blair again. We've got a consult coming up. These are things that you should consider, or these are the benefits of renovating with us versus others. and just to continue to build that relationship with the customer so that at every stage of that process, they were nurtured and they continued to be reminded of who Blair was so that they wouldn't drop off throughout that process, which improves the conversion rate of lead to actual job one. And with a CRM like this and these automations that we set up for Blair, we help him track leads, book in consults, and manage the pipeline effectively so that the money he's investing on generating leads is effectively turned into revenue for his business on the back end. And as you can see, here's a couple of screenshots from the CRM system. So this is his lead pipeline. All of his new leads get ported in, so he can log in effectively each day and see who he needs to call or contact. These leads are effectively emailed or SMS'd throughout each stage. So there's tailored automations going out based on which stage the lead is in. So if they're booking in a consult, they'll get reminders as to when that consult is, maybe some questions that Blair is going to ask them so that they can have the correct information ready for that consult so they can maximize that 30-minute chat that they have with Blair. Project one, we send them several bits of information about what's going to entail after the project starts so that they're always kept in the loop and effectively kept up to date with the information that they require at that stage. These are some of the emails that go out and SMSs. So you can see the open rate on these is very effective. Each of these have been opened. So this is an appointment confirmation. Then some just general nurturing emails. What's the benefits of adding a second story? So this customer has obviously gone in there and inquired about second story renovation. We go in there and provide additional content to them to nurture them and just to continue to build that motivation so that they go to the next step in that process. And these are some of the inbound conversations that Blair gets on a day-to-day basis from leads from Facebook and Instagram and his emails. What type of extensions can you help with? What areas do you service? They're telling Blair that they're in Bright. How do I request a free quote? Leaving their email. How do I book in a consult? So as you can see, it's very, very effective to help Blair weed out those that are time wasters and only go and chase those who are most probable in becoming a sale for his business. So these are the results. So 84 qualified leads in one weekend. It was over a long weekend, and it was a month into running the lead generation system for Blair. So if you can imagine, Blair's gone from a dry pipeline, and then a couple of weeks into the system being launched, he generated 84 qualified leads. So you can imagine what that's done for Blair in terms of, the stress and anxiety that was building around, where's my next job going to come from? How am I going to, bring in qualified leads on a consistent basis so that I can go out and quote and engage people? And then he's got 84 people that are interested in his services, which is inundated him. So it's created another problem in itself, but a good problem to have. In the first 3 months, he closed a $600,000 knockdown rebuild project, which completely relieved the stress from his business. He effectively booked that project in. He got his team working on that project for the next several months, and it bought him some time so that he could focus on where he was going to generate the next $600,000 knockdown rebuild project or the next double-story extension for his business. We filled his pipeline with work that he actually wanted. So he wasn't going after the bottom feeder type work, renovation projects anymore. He was only chasing those that had the bigger type budgets, the bigger type renovation work that they wanted from him. And he had a reliable system that was doing the heavy lifting behind the scenes for him. He, at one point, needed to turn off the system because he was completely inundated with the amount of leads that was coming through. But if you can effectively see that on a day-to-day basis, there was just new leads coming through his pipeline automatically without Blair actually having to go out, drum up new work himself. All he had to do was see who was coming through the CRM system, have a look at the information they were submitting, or what type of project they wanted, how soon they wanted it to be done, what type of things that they needed from Blair, and chase that work instead of going out and drumming up new business. He had this automated system working in the background for him, which allowed him to work on his business in other areas where it was going to effectively turn into revenue.
So working with Seb and Nick has been great. It sort of propelled me to another level of trying to get a lot more broad work. They've been very great to accommodate anything that I want and need. They're here to listen. They go a lot above and beyond. Nick's calling me every couple of days to update me with how our ads are going or what can we change. He's really asking me a lot of personal questions, which is really great. But not only that, like, they make me feel comfortable. I'm here doing an interview at the moment and we're sitting down, we're having a chat, and it just feels like a good environment to be around. So if there's anyone out there sitting on the fence, I'd definitely recommend sign up. These guys are here to help you make your business a better prospect for yourself. Yeah, so initially how I got clients were just word to word, mouth to mouth, sort of just through other clients, which sort of had to stale up. I wasn't really progressing to how I liked it. But since jumping on board with Marketing Lab, it's really made that a better process. A couple of weeks ago, we got 15 to 20 leads all over one weekend, and a lot of them have been very prospectful, if that's a word, which is great. A lot of them are going through that process at the time. We've booked in a few consults with the clients, and I think we're going to land those jobs.
So as you can see, Blair not only vouched for the system itself, but the fact that we were constantly holding his hand throughout the entire process, keeping him up to date on how his ads were running, and not leaving him in the dark. What most businesses do face when they do engage an agency is the fact that the ads are set up and it's sort of a set and forget mentality, but that's not the case with us. We're continuously optimizing Blair's campaigns to maximize the amount of value he's getting out from the ad spend that he's running, coming to him with new ideas on what he should be running in terms of new ads, and Blair also providing us feedback on how the leads have been coming through, what type of leads he's been getting, so we can pivot his campaigns to ensure that we're constantly getting the right type of customers for his business. So if you want results like this, these are some of the other ad accounts that we run for tradies and builders and renovation specialists in Australia. 225 leads, 687 leads, 265 leads, 58 leads. Give us a call because we can set up a lead generation like this for your business. Just reach out to us via our phone number or via email, and we can schedule a time and show you exactly how we can implement a system like this for your business, so you're no longer having to rely on referral work, having to drum up new business yourself. You can have an automated system that's generating new leads for the type of projects that you want to land from the areas that you want to service, so that you're effectively just chasing those who are going to turn into great revenue projects for your business, and you can effectively scale your company over 12 to 24 months, because it's a predictable system where you can see in the next 6 months what your calendar is looking like, as opposed to where am I going to book in my next job. So if you thought this video was helpful, please get in contact with us and we'd be happy to show you how it works and how it could work for your business.